Welcome to the No Stay Project for this November 16, 2013, coming to you live from the Fortified Compound in Phoenix, Arizona. Glad to be back with everybody. Wow, it has been a long week. I got a lot of stuff to get to, but you're listening to LRN.FM. We are on 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday here on the Liberty Radio Network, and you can go to markstevens.net, my website, and you can check where you can also listen to the show. And thanks to Calvin, we'll have the podcast up on markstevens.net after the show. Also, started doing it last week. It looks like it's I know I'm being video recorded, so I'll touch my face. But it seems to be very good feedback on that, so I'm going to continue doing that. I'm actually going to record and upload today HD video of the first hour of the show. Unless somebody wants to do a barter for a terabyte external hard drive, I'm kind of limited by how much HD video that I can record during the show. Considering how old this machine is, I'm actually kind of lucky that I'm able to do it at all, considering how large the files are. But again, last week, what we had talked about, we had it was a couple of firsts, but I guess that's not going to work. But we had Government Indicted released, finally. Government Indicted, where we're trying to rid the world of the worship of psychopaths. And one of the things I write in the book is paying taxes is the moral equivalent of driving your kids to a pedophile's house. And, if that offends you, then that's just too bad. Rethink your position. Rethink about your position about how moral paying taxes and whatnot is, and what our cooperation with these psychopaths called government really involves and what it enables. So I had done a video this week, and we will be taking your calls at, I should know the number, 218-632-9399. Did a couple of videos this week. Definitely check out the one with Yeoman. For those unfamiliar, go back into the website, into the archives. Did a lot of shows with Yeoman. It was the Contraband Turkey in Austin. So what Yeoman was doing was providing services to the market, poultry products to restaurants and businesses to resell. And he had done it. I didn't even realize. Well, I knew he wasn't doing it with permission, and that he was just providing the services to a willing market, and he had no complaints, as testified by even the health department. I didn't realize how long he'd been doing it. He'd actually been doing it, you'll hear in the video, he'd actually been doing it for 16 years. Imagine, 16 years, zero complaints. So the people who attacked him can't say the same thing. But I also did a video finally I'm going to be doing more now that the book is finally out. And you can get your copy at markstevens.net. I did finally get a page on the website if you want to order more Government Indicted. Of course, the book is 560-something pages. It has really thrown up the cost of shipping. So for domestic U.S., it is $20 plus $5 shipping, and in Canada, it's $30. The prices in Canada doubled last year. In the U.K., it's like $20 U.S., and Australia is, I think, 22. But we're working on getting the distribution over there so we can bring the shipping cost down. But you go to markstevens.net, you can get that. So I'll be doing more videos, and I'm also going to be setting up some workshops. So if you're interested, and you've got a number of people that are interested, it all, of course, goes based on the interest, that want me to come out and do a workshop and do an all-day workshop like we've done before. I'd love to do that. I definitely want to get to Miami. We're looking at Portland, also get back to New Hampshire. But you just contact me, markstevens.net or markstevens@riseup.net, and we can discuss setting something like that up. So I did a video this week. It's one of the first in the series, and it had to do with I got it right here. This is the plea of guilty. It's unsigned, and it's supposed to stay unsigned. So I did a 17-minute video going over why I use this and what we accomplish, and it's actually gotten some decent traffic. So I wanted to read one of the comments here. I doubt this individual would come on the show because, of course, I've always encouraged dissent, and someone's got a problem with something that's presented on the show, then you can bring it. And so he says, Mark, jurisdiction is a pretrial issue of civil and criminal proceedings, and such pleadings are attached with certain time limits that must be adhered to should one wish to argue it. It cannot be argued at any time. That's just wrong. Jurisdiction can be raised and challenged at any time. So I disagree with Vinny 1010 here. Jurisdiction, if someone is claiming jurisdiction in or out of court, then if you're going to defend yourself rationally, then you can ask for evidence of jurisdiction. So I don't agree. It says pretrial does not mean a trial before the real trial. The term pretrial is a phrase and procedure where motions can be filed. When I'm going in with an unsigned plea of guilty, I'm not filing a motion. I'm just saying I intend on pleading guilty if the prosecution has any evidence to prove jurisdiction to even have an arraignment in the first place. So, again, I just don't see where it's just not an accurate statement here. He says, and if you're going to argue law while pleading guilty, it's clear there is somewhat confusion in that you state you want, I'm going to have to add want to plead guilty, yet you are arguing law inference unsettled issues. I'm not arguing law. When you challenged evidence that the Constitution and Code apply, jurisdiction, it's not. It's an issue of fact. You just show me the evidence. This opinion's based on, and I will sign a plea of guilty and get this off the docket. So he's just mixing things up. He's just not. No. He says, I don't know what you mean about the judge lying about state's evidence. The issue of lack of evidence is pretrial issue, and if it's not raised, it can certainly be argued during latter stages of trial via motion to dismiss, or motion for a directed verdict, rather, which you have the burden to show. No. I made it very clear in the video, and you can go see it at markstevens.net. I made it very clear in the video, Vinny, that the judge is lying for a number of reasons. He's lying because when you do this, and I know our buddy Keith, our mate in Australia, Melbourne, he left a comment testifying that this happened to him also, and it's happened to me many times. When you tell them that you intend on pleading guilty, you just want to know the evidence that the prosecution relies on that they're supposed to have anyway, and he enters a plea of not guilty for you, he's lying because the only two circumstances where he is legitimately able to enter a plea of not guilty over your objection is if you're refusing to plea and if he can't ascertain plea. I went through this in the video. He's lying because I have an unsigned plea of guilty that I've given to him. So that's where he's lying. It's very simple that you're not refusing to plea. He's just covering for the prosecution's lack of evidence. And if Vinny or anyone else is alleging that the prosecutor does not have to have evidence of jurisdiction in order for it to be an arraignment and force you into pretrial, you're just dead wrong. To think that because if you, I did this all in the video. It's almost like Vinny didn't watch the video. Oh, that's right. It's a critic. Most of the critics don't watch and actually pay attention. The idea is just to criticize without actually addressing the actual issue. But I made it clear in the video about all these issues. So again, I don't want to cover all the ground again here on the show. That's not necessary. I did everything in the video. But what he's saying here is, you say this is not la la land where you could do anything and just say, well, I never agreed to government, so no, laws don't apply to me. He actually says in here that there is a government. There always will be a government. You just need to accept it, man. Yes, that's right. He says, there is a government. There always will be government. You just need to accept it, man. This is not la-la land where you could do anything and just say, well, I never agreed to a government. No laws apply to me. LOL. Apparently, Vinny's 16 years old. Ditch the victim-based mindset. If you feel it's unjust, then keep doing what you're doing. You have every right to, but I would say it's incorrect to state people are slaves. In my opinion, that perspective is based off one's mental setup and may even be ego-driven to some extent. Not you, but I know many who use patriotism as an excuse to cover up their responsibility. Well, I'll finish this in the next segment, but one thing is that it's very clear there is no government. There's just people. They're just people. They call themselves government. The reason why there is no government is because there is no state and there are no citizens. Apparently, I'm going to have to cover that in the next segment. My name is Marc Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM. We'll be back with your calls in just a moment. Don't go away. Welcome back to the No State Project. I'm your host, Marc Stevens, author of course, Government Indicted. ridding the world of the concept of government, that it is okay to lie, steal, kill, and cheat other people if you call yourself a government. And we're going to get to a big segment here in just a moment. I want to just finish with Vinny 1010 on YouTube. And I wouldn't usually bother with the YouTube comment because it's usually, just trolling. But here I wanted to make sure maybe other people are misunderstanding it this way. When you are questioning jurisdiction, the evidence that the Constitution laws apply to you and at this jurisdiction, that's an issue of fact. You're not arguing the law. You're asking a question, what evidence do they have? And this idea that there is a government, there always will be a government, no. How about no? There is no government. There's just people. And when I've gone through this many times, it bears repeating, apparently. To have a government, you have to have a state. To have a state, you have to have a body politic and citizens. Now, citizens are a member of the body politic, owing a duty of allegiance in return for duty of protection. These are reciprocal obligations. That's what they tell me. You can look that up. It's not me saying it. I'm just quoting directly from Loria versus United States. And that they're being that they are, they openly tell you that this goes, I guess, also to Stephen, who's commenting on the website. There is no duty to protect you. They tell you that. And we know this not only because they tell you that, because the fact is you pay or you go to jail. There couldn't be an obligation to protect you and a duty of allegiance due because it's all coercion. It's all by force. So because there are no citizens, because there's no duty to protect and no duty of allegiance, of course, there is no body politic. Because there is no body politic, there is no country, there is no state, there is no city. Cities are created by law, not bricks and mortar and whatnot. So, and you can dissolve cities. So if you go and you read Government Indicted, I have a list of some of the more recent examples of where cities have been, dissolved. It's just some psychopath judge with the stroke of a pen. The city is gone because the city is political. So the idea that there is a government, there always will be a government, no. They're just people. And the concept that it is okay to just call yourself a government and do it and violate the non-aggression principle, violate the basic principle of do no harm, that the rules of morality and ethics don't apply to you because you say you're part of a group called the government. No, it's nonsensical, it's psychopathic, and it's definitely immoral. But we got plenty of time for that. I know I'm getting flamed about saying we have plenty of time. But I want to bring up a guest. She's been on the show before. We actually had some really good news that she gave us yesterday. And after the week that I had this week, I really need to hear this. I want to welcome back from Sussex, England, Fabrice and Helen. Helen, you are the one this week. You made my whole week, my friend.
My own too.
Please relate to us what happened yesterday. Now, this was your 9th hearing for a traffic ticket, correct?
Yes.
So.
Yes, it was the 9th one, and we turned up. And well, the basics of it was we had all charges dismissed, and we were awarded £900 cost for the amount of trouble we've had been put through.
£900, and I know I mentioned this before, but for those who are not in England, I know there's a few that aren't. That would be the equivalent to an American or Canadian dollar of $1,400. So imagine getting a traffic ticket kicked out and you're awarded $1,400 or £900. So again, congratulations. I mean, this is outstanding, and I want to just go into a little bit for those who are not familiar with this, and plus we're getting some video we can get up on YouTube. This all, because I made some of the calls with you, correct, to the prosecution?
Yes, you did, yes.
And the main point that you made throughout all this, from the very beginning, was a very simple position, like I've already mentioned on the show, is that you were challenging the evidence proving that the laws of the realm applied to you just because you were physically in England.
Absolutely. That's the evidence we've asked them for from the word go.
So you went through 9 hearings and countless documents that were filed in the court, and because I know that there was, I know I'm getting the phrase wrong, because there was an issue of misconduct on the part of the prosecution.
Yeah, they call it abuse of process here.
Abuse of process, yes. And so through all this, you really maintained one position, that you hadn't seen any evidence that the Constitution and laws of the realm actually apply to you, and they were in every step of the way. I mean, did they ever even try to give you evidence? I mean, actual evidence?
No, they once wrote to me quoting what they call here the general rule, which just says that the laws apply to everybody within the realm. So, of course, I went back and said, that doesn't help me. I don't understand how I become a part of your realm. Can you tell me how my obligation was created? I asked for a factual timeline of when, where, and how, and who created my obligation. And then they started refusing to answer and not disclosing evidence. And once they had court orders on them, we had an abuse of process argument to say that they were refusing to cooperate with us.
And now
So I
this is one
definitely,
of the things I think that contributed to why you were awarded the £900 because they were ordered to provide this evidence to you in a certain amount of time. I think 28 or 30 days, correct?
yeah, 28 days because with Fabrice's help, I pushed them into the corner with that. I asked how long have they got to provide me with this evidence so that I've got time to prepare for trial. And at that point, he said, well, I'll give them 28 days to fully disclose any witnesses, any statements, any legal opinions, any act of parliament that they want to use against you in court. And the 28 days came and went, and we didn't get that. And then 4 months later, we got a disclosure package a few days before court. And I immediately, with two more witnesses in it, and none of it answered my questions, but it was still well outside the time they'd been given um, to help me prepare my case. And so we objected to their witnesses being presented, and the trial went part heard for an abuse of process hearing. Um, and then they tried to reschedule because they said their witnesses weren't going to be available, and then they tried to reschedule because they said the prosecutor was off sick, and then and two district judges ruled no, it has to continue on the date set. We get to the date set and none of them turn up. The magistrates that were supposed to be there weren't there. The legal clerk had been sent to another town. The prosecutor wasn't there. No witnesses were there, and I was told it had been rescheduled because the prosecutor was off sick, despite a hearing 3 days previously where it was ruled with the judge in full knowledge that the prosecutor was off sick that the trial would continue because they hadn't notified the court in time. So, and none of it happened. So then we went in front of another district judge who was the same one who put the order on the prosecution back in March that hadn't obeyed. And he talked me through basically what I needed to do and what rules they'd broken, and told me to put in a chronology of events. So from when the court got involved until the present day. So I just literally blatted out the date, the event, and what happened, like whether it was a letter, a phone call, a court hearing, and I didn't put any of my opinions into it. I just put the facts of exactly what's happened.
Okay, so we're up against the break, Helen. We'll be back in just a moment. My name is Marc Stevens. You're listening to the No Stay Project here on LRN.FM. We'll be back with more. Helen, £900 awarded costs after getting a traffic ticket kicked out finally after 9 hearings. This is huge. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go away. Yes, welcome back to the No Stay Project here on LRN.FM. And it is November 16th, 2013. And glad to be with you back here at the fortified compound here in Phoenix, Arizona. And, of course, the website, markstevens.net. And we're talking with Helen and Fabrice from West Sussex, England. And it was a pretty big week. Although things didn't work out yet with the council tax, things worked out pretty well with at the 9th hearing for a traffic ticket that Helen had. And she got awarded £900 in costs because through 9 hearings, countless phone calls and motions, not countless, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
One question was dodged the most, and they were unable to, in 9 hearings and a couple of witnesses, at least one witness, completely unable to provide one shred of evidence, not one fact at all that would show or go to prove that the Constitution laws apply to Helen just because she's physically in England. So welcome back, guys. And what we were talking about before, Fabrice, what you were discussing how finally after all this, and you've been the Mackenzie friend, which is the equivalent of an ex-friend out here in the States, for the first time through all these 9 hearings, they actually treated you as an adult.
Yeah, it was quite strange, really, to to have any kind of acknowledgement. But they were really, sucking up and very apologetic. The prosecutor said, to Helen, I'm on my back foot, which is an old fencing analogy of I'm just about to fall down and yield to you. Part of that coming and sitting at the front bench in England, there's an awful lot of etiquette rules, and what they were saying was that the reason they ignore you is because as you're not legally trained, you're the equivalent of a child in a grown-up's playground. And because you've actually gone in there and been able to defend yourself, then they're kind of up at the big table, as it were. You can't be a child if you've if you've bested them. Even if they do feel that it was a kick in the goodies or something like that. But yeah, it is a really, really different sense. And because we've done, Mark, is we've used your process, not taking a position, asking questions, asking for the evidence, and only relying on empirical proof. We've dressed suitably. We've behaved with politeness, dignity, and respect, even when we haven't been treated with that. And I think that has served us in very good stead as regards playing the game. When you play American football, you put on a helmet. When you go motorbiking, you put on leathers. When you go into a courtroom, you dress for the sport, I guess, or you dress for whatever it is that you're doing. And part of doing that and being respectful, I think helped a lot with being able to get an award of costs and to for them to treat Helen very well at the end, and be very apologetic.
Right. It's a matter of we want to treat others the way we want to be treated. And one of the things I want to ask you, you guys didn't just go in and listen to the radio show and say, hey, that sounds pretty good. Let's just repeat what Marc says on the show, and we'll win. Is that how you guys? Is that the extent of your?
No, definitely not, Marc. And there's a few people I'd just like to say I couldn't have done it without everyone on the No State chat, Dan and Keith for now, and Gary and Chris and Phil and everybody and Jan. And so many people that spent hours and hours role playing with me, talking through scenarios when my head was coming up with millions of them, and just practice and then when you're in there and stuff you've laughed and joked around about on the phone at silly o'clock in the morning, trying to work out what could happen, is playing out in front of you. You're well equipped, and that was the difference. And probably because I've spent so much time on this trial, and that was the difference between this one and the council tax one, is that I really felt prepared in there quite a few times in the trials, and that did a lot for my confidence, as well as having Fabrice, sometimes Ben as well as my Mackenzie friend. Yeah,
Sure.
big shout out to Ben as well, because he's amazing.
Well,
and supporters in the public gallery, so that we were outnumbering them. Now, I didn't have that council tax. It was the only one Fabrice and I had done on our own. So I think that made a difference.
Oh yeah, you got to have the support, and the media reps and having Fabrice, as a Mackenzie friend, definitely helps. Now, you guys mentioned to me before that a number of times some of these magistrates had gotten gotten angry with you.
Yes.
Now, did
and the witness got very angry with me.
Oh, well, the witness can't have you thrown in jail. Now, even though you were raising these very unorthodox, at least outside the show, issue of challenging the jurisdiction, the applicability of the laws of the realm. Oh my gosh, how what an offense! How yeah. So even though these judges or these magistrates got upset, did you do any? How much time did you do in jail because of it?
No, there was no jail time served. No risk of jail time.
We were awarded costs for our troubles.
So by awarded costs, do you mean you spent 10 days in jail?
No. We mean that all three of the magistrates apologised. We mean that the legal clerk apologised. We mean that the prosecutor apologised. Yeah, that was a little bit of a punishment.
Well, this is what I'm trying to get is obviously these things are going to upset some people. We're dealing with psychopaths. I'm glad that they apologize. I've had Chris Leonis. I'll keep saying it. He apologized to me a number of times because he had said, and I reported this on the show. He says, "Mark, do you talk English?" And since getting to know me, at least through the court hearing or the administrative hearing, he has apologized, and I think it was genuine. I think he really felt bad for what he had said. Um, Important though is to point out that you didn't go in this recklessly. You didn't just listen to the
Oh,
show
we there? Oh,
and go in. I think.
sorry, Mark, we lost you for a moment. The call dropped and
Oh,
then
no
came
problem.
back.
I was saying that what's important to keep in mind is that I have not recommended, no one else has recommended, and you did not take it upon yourself to be reckless, to just listen to the show and hear a couple of things that I have said here or other people have said, and that you just decided to write it down and go into court. You did as like what an adult is expected to do, a responsible, autonomous adult, and you prepared for court, even though it was just a traffic ticket. This could have been a significant fine against you, and it could have been, could have been, devastating. I know if they hit me with a fine beyond a certain amount, which they've tried to do many
It
times,
wasn't
yeah, it would be pretty bad.
just a traffic ticket. That what they consider the more serious crime is the refusal to give them your details, because I didn't give them my details either. So it was like the two charges together, which was a big four-figure fine, quite a few points on my license. I didn't really want that when I didn't feel like I'd committed a crime. Well, I knew I hadn't. I absolutely knew I hadn't committed a crime. No one was complaining about me.
But yeah, the amount of time that you spend preparing, you have to be familiar with the material. You have to be familiar with the philosophy, because a number of times they attempted to put words into your mouth effectively. They'd
Oh yeah,
they'd hear part of a question, or they'd take part of a question, answer it. Sometimes it's almost if you're a freeman, or if you're taking a position, and you have to know that you're not taking a position. You have to be aware, because these aren't altogether reasonable people. If they can pull a fast one on you, if they can adjust the paperwork, they will.
yeah,
So you have to double check these things. At the end of a hearing, you have to make sure that you ask them exactly what it is that's taken down in the record, and that you've heard that, and that somebody that's in there with you has heard that, preferably written it down. Just so that they can't get off the hook, because they
yeah,
will do, especially if it's something that they should be able to provide easily, and it's putting them on the hop. And when you have a prosecutor, for example, with Helen, who is interested in how our council tax ticket is going, and that if Helen does get a result with that, to let her know, then she obviously knows that there's something in asking those kind of questions, because as a senior Crown Prosecution Service prosecutor, she should really know that evidence is there, and it's not too easy for her, because if it suits her to not pay her taxes,
right.
and
Well, I have
she'll
to. We're
tell.
up against a break, so just hold on. My name's Mark Stevens. Big congratulations to Helen of West Sussex, England, and to Fabrice for standing up for themselves and getting not only getting it kicked out, but a $900 cost awarded. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go away. All right, we're off air, but I wanted to just include this before we went, and I would have you guys. I just that we got a full boat. I want to ask you through all this, and try to exclude the 900-pound award that they gave you.
Hmm.
Was it worth it? And would you do it again?
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, no ifs, no buts, and if people are as willing to work as hard as Helen has worked, I'll be more than happy to help anybody to defend themselves.
That's what I appreciate that because, one of I mean, I would imagine that just speaking for myself and based on other people that I've spoken to that have gone through similar situations as you have, even if it's just a parking ticket, okay, the fact that you went through the process, that they believe that they're not only know the material pretty well on how to defend themselves, but the fear or the anxiety if they are attacked, and it may be a larger attack, is not nearly the degree it was before they started, because it's just like a boxer going in the ring for the first time. Once you actually do it the first time, yeah, it's a lot easier to get, you don't have that initial stress and anxiety. So
Yeah. And you're not. I mean, I might have had second thoughts if one of the punishments could have been to lock me up. I've got a family and work and stuff like that. But I knew, because it was just a speeding offence, that I was just looking at getting a heavier fine if they did slap it on me. And I was prepared to have that. It was worth the experience, even if I'd come out with that.
right.
If I hadn't had it if I hadn't had it chucked out, it was still worth the experience. I'm just really glad we managed to hold them to it.
Yeah, well,
And
it made my week, and I don't know if I'll have time to get into a lot of the stuff that I went through this week, but I got a prosecutor telling me, you can't make up your own rules. It's like he doesn't even see the irony in that statement. So so hearing that was great. I congratulate
I
you,
really needed it too after Wednesday in the council tax hearing. I really needed it too.
yeah,
So,
I know. Listen to me. What you went through on Wednesday. I know I've been in that position many times. Where you feel like, oh my gosh, a big congratulations. I think it's great what you guys are doing. I appreciate the effort. Whatever I can do to help with the council tax, let me know.
yeah, we will.
thank you very much, Mark.
All right,
Thanks
just
for
stay
all
on a
your
second.
help.
We'll be back with the No Stay
Come on,
Project
I'm
in just a
on mute
moment.
out.